Of course, the crud I'm referring to here is the crud inside an exhaust pipe. This is the header of a pipe. Let me tell you the sequence of what happened here. I was looking back through this study paper by Gordon Blair about a 100cc karting engine, reed valve that was designed to rev very high, and it gives lots of good graphs, all the details involved, pipe details. They had two versions of the pipe, one with a Holy baffle and one normal. The Holy baffle gave this lighter graph right here, which does not have the before power band power dip that most pipes have, which is the advantage of it. But if you look right here, we've got a normal exhaust pulse. Let me describe what these symbols are down here. The EO means exhaust open. TO means transfer open, so the piston's going down from top dead center to exhaust opening, transfer opening, bottom dead center, transfer closing, exhaust closing, top dead center again. So you've got the exhaust pulse, you've got the diffuser return wave, which is a suction wave, and you've got the baffle pressure wave, which is overlapped by a negative wave. I'm like, wait a minute. As the exhaust port opens, that blast of pressure being released into the pipe causes a sound wave, which goes here. As it expands, causes a reverse suction wave, and it keeps going. As it contracts, it causes a reverse pressure wave, and then it goes at the stinger. And so you've got the suction wave from the diffuser and the pressure wave from the baffle. And what comes from the baffle can go all the way here, hit the opposite side of the cylinder wall, and come back into the pipe for a second generation of waves. Okay? But the time between the first generation and the second generation is fairly long. And it's not what we're seeing here with this. I mean, look at the small amount of time from when that baffle wave starts to when that suction wave happens. So I'm like, wait. The only possible way that can happen is if it's coming from the stinger. And I'm pretty sure on this he ran this karting setup without any silencer. And he's got a fairly short stinger. It says 60 millimeter out here, even though what the drawing shows is a little bit longer. I don't know what to make of that. So I'm just saying at a minimum of 60. So I cut that graph and pasted it right here. This is the return waves as demonstrated on my pipe program. I created my own return wave simulator inside the program. So it's not just going by formulas. So right here we've got transfer opening. So we've got some overlap of the exhaust pressure with the transfers. Then we've got the diffuser wave, and then we've got the baffle wave. And so what you're seeing here is the program designed to not incorporate that stinger wave. So what happens with the stinger wave is that the sound waves come to the end of the baffle, they go into the stinger, and then when it gets right here, it goes, wow, complete dissipation immediately, and so you get a strong return suction wave. But this is happening too soon. When I added that option into the program, this red graph right here is showing the stinger wave, modifying the baffle wave. But look where it starts, right around transfer closing. But on Blair's measured pressure trace, it happens much sooner. So I entered 0 millimeters as the length of the stinger in my program, which is pictured right here, a pipe with no stinger. And it brought it much earlier than what it is like with a 60 millimeter stinger. Not quite as far as Blair's pressure trace, which is typical with computations trying to simulate things like this. The accuracy is a little bit sloppy. But still, I'm pretty sure this is indicating that the beginning of that return wave from the stinger is not from the end of the stinger, but from the beginning of the stinger. And then the only way that could happen is if there is crud on the inside of that stinger. Because the area of the sound wave that is affected, the percent of that that change or that molesting of the sound wave is much higher in a small diameter pipe. A stinger is like 1/3 the diameter of the header pipe, so it's much more critical. So what happens is that the sound wave is like a wall of pressurized molecules. Okay, but as that wall of energy travels down the stinger, the energy is dissipated right there at the edges due to the crud in the stinger. And when you dissipate that energy, you cause a reverse suction wave. Like in this drawing, as the pressure of the sound wave enters into the diffuser, it expands, and as a result of that expansion causes a reverse suction wave. When it comes over here, it contracts, and the return wave is not a suction wave, but a pressure wave. When it comes at the stinger, it expands again, much quicker, and sends a return suction wave. So the only thing I can figure out is that the beginning of that suction wave is happening right at the beginning of the stinger because of the crud in the stinger. So obviously that is not a new engine that Blair was using. He just has access to a lot of people being famous and everything. I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice in my life. So I could be wrong. But I think logically speaking, that's what's happening here. With the new pipe, it's not a problem because there's no crud there to dissipate the edges of the sound wave. But as time goes on, if someone is using an engine oil that is anything other than 100% synthetic, then that crud can accumulate. Unfortunately, most engine oils that are said to be synthetic actually just imply it. They don't really mean to say they're 100% synthetic. They call themselves synthetic, but they don't say 100% synthetic. And on the opposite end of the stick, they also don't say they're semi-synthetic, which actually what is a lot of them. That's what they are. If you look at my oils page, you'll be able to see which ones are 100% synthetic and which ones aren't. So the mineral oils and the semi-synthetic engine oils are what deposits on the inside of the exhaust pipe. The header, I don't like to see that crud there. I would, if I had the right tools, I would clean it out once a year. But the stinger, if I was competing, I don't know. I guess it depends upon the engine oil, how often I would clean that out. But yeah, I would occasionally check on it at least. Run my finger in there and see. So I came up with this idea, something to counter. Let's say you're making pipes, and you don't know if this guy is ever going to clean out his stinger at all. Okay, you could make one with a non-parallel stinger that starts out wide and ends up smaller. Doing that causes the sound wave to compress at the same time that it's losing some energy at the edges due to the crud. So it counterbalances that. That would be a good long-term solution. But even if you make the stinger into a slightly contracting cone, you still got the problem of, unless it's a really long stinger, there's going to be a suction wave happening as a result of the sound wave suddenly being released into the air if there's no silencer, or if there is a silencer, it'll be a little bit less rapid, but still those silencers, those racing silencers, they allow an immediate release of that pressure. This right here is the silencer core. You can see it is loaded with holes. This is the same thing as if it was cut along one axis and spread out. And this is what I propose as a solution to cause that pulse to more gradually spread out so it doesn't create such a strong vacuum pulse, suction pulse going back to the engine. These red dots represent where I would weld in the holes. These gray dots are the same thing. Okay, so that the white holes, or the regular black and white holes, are where the pressure of the sound wave can dissipate through. You can see it's just got a few at the beginning, and a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So over that distance right there, it's going to gradually release the pressure of that sound wave, which would cause a less intense return wave. So the question is, how long does the stinger need to be? That cart that Blair tested had a high power band all the way up to 13,000. And my program says that if there's no crud on the inside of the stinger, that a 2.5-inch silencer is long enough. But as you go lower in RPM with different designs, you're going to need longer stingers. And it really, I don't really want to give a generic number, but I guess maybe double that, 5 inches. If a person suspected that the stinger was too long and they didn't want to lengthen it, probably what they could do is fill in the holes of the core using a welder on the holes. And I guess I should explain why that affects power, since that's the name of the video. The expansion chamber increases power by two means. It increases the intake by the vacuum pulse created by the diffuser cone. It increases dynamic compression due to the plugging pulse coming from the baffle cone. So how the stinger screws that up is by being superimposed upon the baffle wave to lessen it. So this represents the original wave. You can see that at exhaust closing, that suction wave has almost brought that pressure down to half. Okay, which means the plugging pulse at 10,000 RPM is going to be half as much as it would have been. And this probably is true all the way up to 13,000. And that, my friends, is how the stinger wave reduces power. And I was looking through the internet to see if I could find any photos of anyone had come up with the same idea of the converging stinger tubing, and I think I found one. This is an old photo of one of the early Suzuki Grand Prix motocross bikes, and in this corner of the picture you can see where I drew the red lines, and that the beginning of it is wider than the end of it. I'm going to do it again just so you can see that I'm not cheating. Okay, the top, it's very easy to go along that because of the reflection. The bottom I'm going to go by the white and black right here and the white and black right here. The white being of the rim and the white here being of the reflection of the tire. It's not a lot, but you can see with your eye that this is wider than this. So I'm not the first one to come up with this idea. Mr. Suzuki figured it out a long time ago. So here's an option for people that want to know what tools are available for how to clean out the exhaust pipe. Of course, there's methods with high heat, or even the crude method of putting pebbles in the pipe and shaking it up. I would prefer to use something like this, which is wire wheels connected to a flex shaft. These are items on the Amazon website. And here's the picture that shows who was in charge or riding this bike, and that is Roger DeCuster. So the takeaway of this video is pay attention to cleanliness of the inside of your exhaust pipe. Crud on the inside of the header can reduce the wave strength going towards the baffle, which affects the return wave strengths of the diffuser and the baffle. And the stinger can cause a problem with the baffle wave and the dynamic compression, which all affects power. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful in some way to you. Take care.